In Palworld, pals are a key way to helping players progress throughout the game. And while many of these pals are great on their own, one of the main ways to make your pals even better is by giving them good passive skills. But with over 80 different passive skills in the game at this time, it can be pretty confusing to decide which ones might be the right fit for your pal. So today I wanted to explain everything you need to know about these skills. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Speaker, and today I'm going to be giving you a complete guide on Palworld passive skills. But before we get into the video, just a friendly reminder that if you enjoy any of the music you hear during this video or just want to support the channel in general, it's all part of my DMCA free music label, Speakerhead Studios. This is a music label I created and run where all the songs on it are completely DMCA free, so go ahead and use any of these tracks for your content creating needs. We currently have over 70 songs available with more added frequently, so if you're interested in checking that out, all the links will be in the description below. Finally, want to mention that this video was voted on by my community a few months ago, but after we got the announcement for the Feybreak update, I wanted to wait to make this video, and I'm glad I did because this video would have already been out of date. That being said, if you want to take part in future polls like this, then make sure to subscribe to see when the next one gets posted. It also really helps out the channel as well. But with all that out of the way, let's actually start talking about some passive skills. Now, before we actually go over every single passive skill in Palworld, we should probably go over what passive skills are and why they're so crucial to improving your pals. Passive skills are special traits that can be found on any pal in the game. Any pal can have up to 4 different passive skills on them that are able to give said pal a wide variety of both positive and negative buffs depending on what skill it is. Every skill is separated into one of 7 categories, with -3 skills being the worst and rainbow skills being the best. And when it comes to getting these skills onto pals, a majority of these can be found randomly on any pal. However, there are a couple of methods to help your chances of getting certain skills onto pals, and those are by breeding pals and by using Yakumo. Starting with pal breeding, any passive skill a pal has also has a chance of being passed down to their offspring. By using the breeding calculator found on Palworld's official website, you can find pal combinations to pass down passive skills onto other pals. As for Yakumo, their partner skill makes it more likely to find pals with similar passive skills as itself. And by upgrading their partner skill in a pal condenser, you can further increase the chances of finding similar passive skills on other pals. However, it should be noted that exclusive passive skills, which we'll touch on in just a moment, cannot be used with Yakumo's ability. But besides those 2 methods to help your chances of getting passive skills onto other pals, the only other ways to get certain passive skills is by randomly finding them on wild pals or randomly getting the skill while breeding pals. So while this is the case for a majority of passive skills in the game, there are a handful of passive skills that are an exception to this, which I call exclusive passive skills. Pretty much these are all high tier passive skills that can only be naturally found on specific pals in the game. They also have a high chance of being found on these pals compared to most other passive skills. And even though these skills can only be found on specific pals in the game, they are able to be passed down onto other pals through breeding. But with all the basics of passive skills out of the way, let's actually start going over all the skills and talk about what they actually do to your pal. So to try to keep this as organized as possible, we'll be going through each skill starting with -3 skills and working our way to rainbow skills. On top of this, I'll be going over combat related skills first, then work speed skills, and finally any miscellaneous skills will be mentioned towards the end of each section. Hopefully that all makes sense, but I think I've rambled on enough for now, so without further ado, let's actually start going through some passive skills. Starting off with -3 skills, the first one we have is Pacifist, which gives a -20% attack boost. The next one is Brittle, which gives a -20% defense boost. And finally, the last -3 skill is going to be Slacker, which gives a -30% work speed boost. So luckily we don't have too many of these very bad skills, however we somehow have even less -2 skills. The only -2 passive skills we have at this time are going to be Destructive, which makes a pal's sanity drop 15% faster, and Bottomless Stomach, which makes a pal's hunger deplete 15% faster. But with the -2 skills out of the way, now we're moving on to the -1 skills. So first we have Coward, which gives a -10% attack boost. Next is Downtrodden, which gives a -10% defense boost. After that is Clumsy, which gives a -10% work speed boost. And from there we have Unstable, which makes a pal's sanity drop 10% faster. Glutton decreases a pal's hunger 10% faster. Sickly decreases a pal's stamina by 25%. Easygoing increases the cooldown times of active skills by 15%. And finally, Mercy Hit will make it so a pal can't reduce an enemy's health lower than 1. Now I saved Mercy Hit for the end because even though this is technically a negative passive skill, there are plenty of people, including myself, that incorporate this skill onto their pals due to it making it much easier to lower wild pals' health for capturing purposes. But with all the negative passive skills out of the way, let's start talking about the skills that will actually benefit your pals, starting with +1 skills. So the first passive skills I'm going to cover in this section are all the ones that give a 10% attack boost to a specific element type. But all the skills that give this type of boost are going to be Fragment Foliage for grass, Power of Gaia for earth, Capacitor for lightning, Hydromaniac for water, Pyromaniac for fire, Cold-Blooded for ice, Blood of the Dragon for dragon, Veil of Darkness for dark, and finally Zen Mind for neutral. Now sticking with the theme of element types, the next set of skills we're going to cover are the ones that give a 10% damage reduction rate from a specific element. And these skills are going to be Botanical Barrier for grass, Earthquake Resistant for earth, Insulated Body for lightning, Waterproof for water, Suntan Lover for fire, Heated Body for ice, Dragon Killer for dragon, Cheery for dark, and finally Abnormal for neutral. So from here, I don't have any specific order for the rest of these skills. However, as I mentioned previously in the video, I did try to keep somewhat of an organization to this by having combat related skills first. But with that said, the next positive 1 skill I have here is Aggressive, which gives a 10% attack boost and a minus 10% defense boost. After that, we have Sadist, which gives a 15% attack boost and a minus 15% defense boost. Next, we have Brave, which gives a 10% attack boost. From here, we have Masochist, which gives a 15% defense boost and a minus 15% attack boost. Hard Skin will give a 10% defense boost. Conceited gives a 10% work speed boost and a minus 10% defense boost. Serious gives a 20% work speed boost. Work Slave gives a 30% work speed boost and a minus 30% attack boost. Positive Thinker will make a pal's sanity drop 10% slower. Nimble will increase a pal's movement speed by 10%. Dainty Eater makes a pal's hunger level decrease 10% slower. Fit as a Fiddle will increase a pal's stamina by 25%. Nocturnal will make it so a pal can work at night. Impatient gives a 15% cooldown on all active skills. And lastly, Fine Furs will increase the value of items sold to a merchant by 3%. It'll also make the price of items sold by merchants decrease by 3% as well. Now there is one last positive 1 skill I haven't mentioned yet, and that's going to be Otherworldly Cells. So this is a bit of a unique skill for multiple reasons. For starters, this is an exclusive passive skill that gives a 10% attack boost along with a 15% damage reduction rate from both fire and lightning type moves. On top of this, unlike most other exclusive passive skills that can only be found on one specific pal, Otherworldly Cells can be found on all 3 of the Xeno pals in the game at this time. However, even with it being a bit of a wonky skill, just like all other exclusive passive skills, Otherworldly Cells can only be passed down through breeding and not through Yakuma's partner ability. But with that last positive 1 skill out of the way, let's get into the positive 2 passive skills. So believe it or not, we only have one positive 2 passive skill in Palworld at this time, and that's going to be Musclehead, which gives a 30% attack boost and a minus 50% work speed boost. I will mention that there used to be another positive 2 passive skill, which was Runner, but as of the Feybreak update, they actually bumped that up to a positive 3 skill. But speaking of positive 3 skills, let's start moving on to those now. So sticking with combat related skills first, the first set of skills that I want to go are positive 3 exclusive passive skills that give a 20% attack boost to specific elements. The first one is going to be Spirit Emperor for grass, which can be found on Liline. The next one is Earth Emperor for earth, which can be found on Anubis. After that is Lord of Lightning for lightning, which can be found on Orsurk. Lord of the Sea for water, which can be found on Yormantide. Flame Emperor for fire, which can be found on Blazamut. Ice Emperor for ice, which can be found on Frost Alien. Divine Dragon for dragon, which can be found on Jet Dragon. Lord of the Underworld for dark, which can be found on Necromus. And finally Celestial Emperor for neutral, which can be found on Palladius. Now moving on to the non-exclusive positive 3 skills, the first one we have is Ferocious, which gives a 20% attack boost. After that we have Serenity, which gives a 10% attack boost and a 30% cooldown on all active skills. Next we have Burly Body, which gives a 20% defense boost. From here we have Vanguard, which will increase the player's attack stats by 10%. Stronghold Strategist, which will increase the player's defense stats by 10%. Motivational Leader will increase the player's work speed by 25%. Logging Foreman will increase the player's logging efficiency by 25%. Mining Foreman will increase the player's mining efficiency by 25%. Artisan will give a 50% work speed boost to your pal. Workaholic makes a pal's sanity drop 15% slower. Diet Lover will make a pal's hunger decrease 15% slower. Infinite Stamina will increase a pal's max stamina by 50%. Runner will increase a pal's movement speed by 20%. Philanthropist will increase the breeding speed of pals by 100%. And finally, Noble will increase the price of items sold to merchants by 5%. Also, just like Find Furs, this passive skill will decrease the price of items sold by merchants by 5%. I'll also mention that Noble and Find Furs can be stacked to give an even bigger discount and profit. But with all the positive 3 skills out of the way, let's move on to the highest tier of passive skills, which are rainbow skills. Now the first skills I want to go over are the exclusive rainbow skills. So there are currently 5 exclusive rainbow skills in the game at this time, and 3 of them can be obtained after defeating specific raid bosses. And these skills are Siren of the Void, which gives a 30% attack boost to both dark and ice type moves, which can be found in Bellinor Libero. Eternal Flame, which gives a 30% attack boost to both fire and electric type moves, which can be found on Blazemut Ryu. And lastly, Invader, which gives a 30% attack boost to both dark and dragon type moves, which can be found on Xenolord. As for the other 2 exclusive rainbow passive skills, one of them is going to be Legend, which gives a 20% attack boost, a 20% defense boost, and a 15% movement speed boost. So while a majority of other exclusive passive skills can only be found on one PAL, Legend can actually be found on 5 different PALs, which are Jet Dragon, Frostallion, Frostallion Noct, Necromus, and Palladius. However, just like all other exclusive passive skills, Legend cannot be used alongside Yakumo's partner skill to get on other PALs. Now the very last exclusive rainbow passive skill is going to be Lucky, and just like other worldly cells, this is a bit of a weird one. So the only way to get this skill is by finding a lucky PAL out in the wild, which is pretty easy to spot if you know what you're looking for and capturing it. But this skill will give a 15% attack boost and a 15% work speed boost. Now moving on to the non-exclusive rainbow passive skills, the first one is going to be Demon God, which gives a 30% attack boost and a 5% defense boost. Then we have Diamond Body, which gives a 30% defense boost. After that is Vampiric, which makes it so a PAL can work at night along with granting a lifesteal effect. Next is going to be Swift, which gives a 30% movement speed boost. Eternal Engine will increase a PAL's max stamina by 75%. Remarkable Craftsmanship will give a 75% work speed boost. Master of Fasting will make a PAL's hunger decrease 30% slower. And finally, Heart of the Immovable King will make a PAL's sanity decrease 20% slower. So with that last passive skill, that is officially every single passive skill that we currently have in the game at this time. While I'm sure many more passive skills will be added in the future, I hope this guide will help players get a general idea of what types of skills you can put on your PALs. But that's going to be my guide on passive skills. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you found this guide helpful, and also let me know what kind of passive skills you like to put on your PALs. Finally, once again, if you enjoyed any of the music you heard during this video or just want to support the channel in general, it's all part of my DMCA free music label, which you can check out in the links down below. But that's all I have to say for now, so thank you all so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch all y'all in the next one. Take it easy, everybody.